Welcome to E360 TV, the live streaming and on-demand destination for influential voices and enlightened audiences. We offer trending, grassroots, and purpose-driven content across a diverse range of interests. E360 TV is more than just watching programs. We offer the ability to interact with live shows connecting audiences to real, authentic influencers and storytellers while streaming to millions of devices. Real experiences. Raw conversation. One destination for it all. E360 TV.
Now I know when something happens in our lives that is unexpected, you have to go into it in order to ever have any hope of coming through it. So when you go, guess what? When you come out the other side, you grow.
Brought out more in me than I thought that I didn't even know that I had.
That has given all of us a great hope for what we can do with our own messages, our abilities to deliver, but most importantly, to deliver it in an authentic and very, very intriguing way.
Have you ever been in something or felt something where the only way you felt you could deal with it was to leave, get away? I thought that was the meaning of control. It took me 4.5 years to stop looking around the room of my life, of my journey, of my purpose, digging in cushions for a remote that never existed. Looking, re-looking, going back and upgrading, bringing in and pulling out things that do not serve you must go. Those things out in this world that are designed to bring us down, to keep us down, put their foot on our neck and whisper to us that we're never good enough, they don't whisper. They yell at us from all directions, top to bottom, bottom to top, side to side, side to side, corner to corner, and corner to corner, 365 days. When somebody asks you about yourself, don't you dare whisper. When they ask you to raise your hand, don't you dare half raise it. When they ask you something good about you, you scream it with all you have. Come on now, get up, get up. Tell me who you are. Show me who you are.
Greatest truth of all, that not everyone has to remain lost.
I'm going to be nice and not say it today. Just kidding. Wake your ass up. Wake up. It's time to get up, get into it, start this day with purpose. Good morning and welcome to today's installment of Bathrobe Moments. And I'm your host, Lauren Michaels Harris. I'm so excited today. I get excited around this time of year. Do you? I do. I do the traditional and obligatory, mandatory bitching and moaning about they're promoting Christmas too soon, blah, 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 blah. But deep down inside, I just love it. I really do. All those years in foster care, no matter how many, 22 different versions of Thanksgiving and Christmas, no matter where I was, it wasn't what was around me or what was missing from around me. I learned more and more at Thanksgiving and Christmas what I was grateful for and what mattered most to me that was within me, because it was all I could reach for. Because your situation could change at any given moment. So just keep that in mind. I know a lot of us have issues at the holiday time. There's a lot of depression going on and that sort of thing. And it's just one of those times in life right now. So much going on for so many. So be grateful. Have an attitude of gratitude, and I promise you'll make it through. Can I get an amen? So, hey, here we are, Tuesday. Feels like Thursday because tomorrow for a lot of people is the last day of work for the week due to the holiday coming on Thursday. So let me be one of the first to say happy Thanksgiving to you in advance. Couple announcements before we get our guest in here. Remember, even though it's a holiday weekend or week, a new episode of License for Love, Heartbeat in Relationship Conversation. You can find this podcast with myself and Cowboy Jack Young out of Nashville. We're the diversity duo on Spotify, iHeart, wherever you like or prefer to get your podcast feed for the day or week. Okay, so get over and pick that up again. Congratulations to my brothers in service. Got to do that. Wave the flag. Ruben and Chris and the rest of the guys here. Just 2 years ago, this idea of this apparel company with a message and a purpose was something in their living room. And today they are inside of Kohl's stores nationwide, and just so proud of them. Goes to show you, don't just dream. I don't want to hear about your dream. I want to hear about your plan, because process is what makes the plan a reality. Can I get another amen? So, and the book is out. It's been out for a couple weeks now. With number 1, get over and get your copy of The Line. And a lot of great stories in this book. I'm so proud to be a part of it. Thank you for the wonderful editor and publisher, Misty Riston, and the entire team over at Campground Publishing, TBD. Okay, one more. The Power of We Symposium is so excited. And again, it is not impossible for you to come with us. We've got some things in the works, and we would love as many of you as possible to join us as we embark on the Legacy Hope of Tour, where we'll be leaving in May to early part between the 1st and the 17th. We're still locking down the exact dates, but we should have it within 2 weeks. Just waiting for some dates on when kids are testing over there in school. So if you want to join us, get at me and I'll be happy to share that with you. More coming as we get closer. We got plenty of time. So I'm excited about today's guest. A little bit, nothing to take anything from all my other guests, but particularly so today because this guest is we have so many parallel passions, but a completely different journey like we all have. But I just absolutely love what this guy is doing. I'm not even going to try to represent who he is and what he does with a bio, even though I have one for him, because there's just too much. I'd rather get him in here and we'll do like the kids say. My nephews always say, I can show you better than I can tell you, Uncle Lauren. Well, that's what we're going to do. We're going to let him show us today. But never been here, first timer. So please, we want to be nice, and let's be grateful. Let's really show some thanks today by putting some hearts on the screen. It's our virtual way of applauding. So here it comes. Help me welcome Dr. John D. DeGarmo, the founder. Well, I'm going to let him tell you. Hi, John.
Good morning. Good morning.
Do I need to call you Dr. John?
Whatever's fine.
Dr. John, or can I just call you JD?
Sure.
Has anyone ever called you JD?
Yes.
I like that. I'm going to call you JD. Good morning. Welcome to Bathrobe Moments. How are you?
I'm blessed. How about yourself?
Same. I really am. Eating some oatmeal with blueberries. And I just, listen, we have so much ground to cover this morning. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to dip out for just a minute, let you fill in the blanks, tell people what you need them to know about who you are. There's so much to share, but give them the highlight points. And then I'll pop back in and we'll get started. How's that sound?
Sounds great. Sounds great.
Perfect.
Thank you.
All you.
So I'm Dr. John DeGarmo, founder and director of the Foster Care Institute. I've been a foster parent myself to over 60 plus children for about 20 years. I've adopted 3 of those children who have blessed my family. I've had as many as 11 kids in my house at the same time, which sounds crazy. And it was crazy. I work with foster care agencies and child welfare programs, not only across the United States, but also across the globe, written many, many foster care books. I work with legislators to reform the system, did a TED Talk on foster care, and I'm really driven every single day to make the system, the foster care system, a better one, not just for the kids in the system, but for the foster parents, the birth parents, and for society in general. There are so many myths and misconceptions associated with foster care, and I believed a lot of those as well. And so I'm trying to bring awareness, because I think awareness equals advocacy. And finally, like you, I traveled.
Here it comes. I thought you were going to forget.
Yeah, I traveled enough.
Say it again. Say it again.
Yep, I traveled enough with people. That's how I met my wife from Australia.
Up with people. How many of you remember Up with People? Seriously. I just want to say, I'm glad you brought it up because I got a little surprise for you.
Okay.
I'm going to share something. I didn't tell you this when we were talking, but because you had all the memorabilia, and I want you to show some of that this morning if you could. While we're watching this clip, are you where you can grab a couple of your?
I'm not in my office actually. No.
Oh, too bad. Okay, well, guess you'll have to settle for what I found.
Okay.
I've had this for a while now. I didn't even know until at one of the virtual reunions. Yes, God. Oh, that's there. My bad. One of the we had a little virtual reunion a couple years ago, and someone shared with us. You guys know that our cast is in the old 1980s Up with People commercial. For the Super Bowl we did, Super Bowl 14, down in New Orleans. I'll never forget. And so actually, you can see me in this video. So I'm going to just show people, and we're not going to watch the entire clip, but we're going to watch it up to where you can see me, of course. And because I did have hair once. No one believes that, but I did. And also, just to give a shout out and some thanks for what I believe and have always believed was one of the greatest opportunities for young people. It's a shame that they're not doing it anymore. Because they're not, are they?
They are, but it's a different kind of version.
It's not like what we knew it to be.
No, it's not, which is a shame. But world has changed, and they have to change with it, and I don't think it changed for the better.
Yeah, some things they should just leave alone. And
Right.
This was one of them, in my opinion, because as young people, especially me coming out of foster care, because I graduated June 4th, and on July 5th, day after my birthday, I was in Tucson for that 6 weeks of staging. And I had to raise that $5,000 in that amount of time, and to get there. And my town just stepped up, and it was just really impressive because I had just returned a year before after all those years in care. And I didn't think anybody even remembered me, adults and whatnot. But the story in the newspaper touched people, and they reached out, and I was able to participate. So we're going to take a little look. This is one of the greatest. Somebody needs to reboot this, if you will. Oh, no, I don't want that. I want this. Okay, here we go. I'll tell you exactly where it is. So you,
Up with People, acclaimed for its dynamic, high-energy show, is music, and a whole lot more. Up with People is the international, educational, and cultural program which aims to encourage understanding among people of all nations.
Oh my God.
Each year, 550 young men and women from 26 countries travel in one of 5 casts, working together in a program of cross-cultural learning, community service, and personal growth. Since its incorporation in 1968 as a nonprofit educational organization, 10,000 young people have traveled to 3,000 cities in 48 countries, bringing to millions their enthusiasm for life as well as their hopes and concerns for the future.
There it
It's an
is.
exciting year, but a demanding one as well.
Signature mark.
Besides the many performances they give, the students
There it is.
participate in all aspects of the management of their tours, from technical setup and public
international
relations
medley.
to any number of activities that will stretch their talents and abilities.
Oh my God, those shirts.
In the 450 cities the casts will visit each year, Up With People students stay with host families, learning firsthand about the communities they're in. The casts often visit such locations as schools, hospitals, and homes for the aged, sharing, learning, and interacting with people of every background. An average tour will cover some 32,000 miles on 2 continents and have included performances at the Kennedy Center in Washington, D.C., the Olympics, an unprecedented 4 Super Bowl halftime shows, the White House, the capitals of Europe and Latin America.
Okay, I'm gonna stop. I didn't stop it, but when they said the Super Bowl, and then after they rolled the things out and they had the close up of the stage, I was in the front, right on the corner, right on the corner, and I was so busy watching, I forgot to get ready to stop it. So anyway, let me get rid of that. So real quick, and then we'll move on. But I got to ask you, what was your favorite part or role rather that you played through that year? Because there were so many things we did, the advanced teams and all the different things. You could MC, you could be in the band, you could dance, you could sing, and I was a soloist. What did you do?
I did too. I'm a performer at heart. If you've ever seen me speak at events, I like to have lots of storytelling, lots of humor, lots of movement. I'm a storyteller. So, the soloing, the performance on stage to me was great fun. But, at that time, but looking back, wow, the countries we traveled to, the friendships I've made on pretty much every single continent. When I take vacations every year to a different country, and the people that accompany me were my old Up With People friends, and they're from different countries, and
Yeah.
it's fantastic the relationships I've made, and I have a lot of I think I've got a much clear understanding of what's going on in the world because of the friendships I made across the globe.
Well, the number one thing it did for me,
What's that?
honestly, that's why I had to applaud when they mentioned the host families, because I'm still in touch with the ones that hosted me. Well, the parents are now gone, but the sons, we're still friends, have been all these years. And they lived up on Mount Lemon, and they were the Harmons. They were just wonderful people. But the host families for that entire year, they healed so much for me, having just a year before I went Up With People, exited, aged out of foster care. Well, I actually was on independent living. I hadn't aged out,
Right.
but I was still on my own. Their treatment and the way, they always make you feel like you're the most special thing in the world, like a star. They throw you parties and they're just so sweet. And
Right.
it really started a healing process for me. So,
And of course, I got my wife out of it too. My wife from Australia. That's how I met her. Yeah, just a great experience.
hold on. So, foster care.
Right.
Why?
For me, why? Because right now, as we're having this conversation, there's a child in crisis. There's a child being abused. There's a child being raped. There's a child abandoned. There's a child neglected. There's a child in pain as we have this
Right.
conversation. And
How did you get connected with foster care? Did your parents foster?
no,
Were you
no,
friends with a
no,
foster kid? What?
no. So after we got married in Australia, moved, I was living in Australia. Our first child died of a condition called anencephaly, or some pronounce it anencephaly. It's a condition where the brain or skull never truly forms.
Oh, yeah.
And my wife was in labor for 92 hours. And at the time, I turned my back on a lot of things. I was just so angry. I just thought the irony was so great. I have never done any drugs or alcohol. Neither had my wife, yet so many had, and they had healthy kids. So years later, we moved back to the United States, and we had 3 healthy children. And I was teaching in a classroom, rural rural high school setting with lots of generational poverty and generational apathy. And I kept having these kids come through my classroom who had issues of attendance and behavior and academics. And I kept saying, what's going on? Why so many kids here? And then I met a lot of their birth parents and recognized, yeah, it starts in the home, starts in the home. So, I went to my wife and said, hey, we have three healthy children. We lost a child. We have led a life of serving others, other people. So it was a year of service, right? You went
Yeah.
to communities and you were helping people.
Yeah.
So we had that sense of service and we thought, well, how can we help other kids? And that led to foster parenting. That led to discussion of foster parenting and the training, and then got my doctorate centered around that, and written all the books. And so you saw my TED talk, so you know why I'm driven daily.
Hmm. So, but I mean, I get it. There are people who say, okay, let me foster a kid here or there, but it's almost like you got addicted to it in a good
Well,
way.
I'm as I said, I'm very driven. Like, I'm very driven. There's just so many. We're living in a nation, the United States, where there's 5 million children who experience domestic violence in their own home every single year. We're living in a nation where there is approximately, statistics say, 800,000 kids missing, 300,000 children victims of human trafficking, which means all that is
Mhm.
happening in every single community in our nation, and most people don't pay any attention to it because it makes them feel uncomfortable. So they don't want to address it. It might even be in their own families. It might even
Well,
be in
and the
their
only
own.
time you hear about, as far as the foster care situation, only time we really hear about it is when something happens.
Right,
It's
right.
not like it's not. I don't know why there's not some huge, um, internationally known, and there might be, but I mean, it should be a household name like Red Cross, United Way for foster care, and I don't know. So, segueing through that piece right there, what is the purpose of the Foster Care Institute?
To provide support services and awareness, to provide support services for the caseworkers and social workers, to provide support services and training for foster parents, for anybody who's curious about foster care to find out more. Think of it, I kind of think of it as a one-stop shop, if you will, for foster care, all things foster care. Articles, videos, webinars, podcasts. You want to know what it's like to be a foster parent or what it takes. It's all there. It's all there.
Okay,
And it helps the caseworkers and agencies get the support services they need as they care for the children and the foster parents, and the foster parents to get their licensing hours, etc. Yeah. So that's what's there for.
yeah. A lot of people don't realize, but there's a lot on a social worker's plate that has so many charges
Right.
to look over, and high burnout rate, that sort of
Yes.
thing. So, as far you mentioned, as far as the institute goes, um, that you have resources for uh, social workers and kids and whatnot. Let me ask you about the kids over the years. Well, no, let me go back to the social workers. The change you said you advocate for change through governmental agencies. So, in the how many years have you had this?
Foster care institute's been around for about 11 years, I think.
11 years. On a scale of 1 to 10, John, in your experience, only speaking from where you stand, with your lens through the institute, just how much change, how much has the needle actually moved? Because I watch it consistently. I probably, without knowing it, even since the moment I entered the system. You don't stop once you age out. You
Right.
just cannot. It's like a bloodline. That's the best way I can put it for us who are alumni of foster care. So tell me, what have you seen any change? Do you have any encouraging news?
There's change because the government. Well, every time you get a new government official,
I hear a butt
whether
coming.
it's whether it's a governor or president, anytime you get a new politician, there's going to be some sort of change. It's not always for the better. Um, you
Maybe I
know,
should swap that word out. Progress. Let's go
prog-
with that one.
there you go, progress. Um, there is more of attention right now on keeping families together, which I think can be very positive. At the same
Share
time,
you some
we
numbers.
got to make sure that we don't keep a child in a home where he's being abused or neglected. So
Right.
sometimes that happens.
Right.
Um, I, I, but again, there's so much ignorance about the system. And I don't mean ignorance in a bad way. There's just people are not familiar with it. And it's not something that's discussed by our politicians or our leaders at all, unless it's a negative story in the news.
Right.
Yeah.
And
So
there's and the thing is,
do I have hope? Well, sure, I've got hope, but I don't see the progress that needs to be done.
okay, so for instance, let's take this piece because it came out of your mouth and I'm well aware of it. I'm working with someone right now who's trying to get some standardized things through Congress to protect kids from, here it comes in 3, 2, 1, sex trafficking. A lot of people let that just go in one ear and out the other when it's attached to foster care. And what I hate about that is something needs to change so that when that comes out of someone's mouth and into someone's mind and ear, it invokes some type of image. The reason people aren't moved to action is because they don't see it. It should gut punch you. What if we were describing an incident with your own child? Would it just go in one ear and out the other? I think not. So why isn't there something what is the piece that's missing in your opinion, John, that is keeping people from understanding all children are our children?
Well, human trafficking, I call human trafficking America's ugly secret. It makes us feel uncomfortable. It's not a pleasant topic to talk about. In fact, it's horrific. Horrific. Some of the stories I've seen in my own home, some of the kids I've cared for as part of my family, just horrible stories. So we pay a blind eye to it, and instead we focus on things that make us feel better. Sports, entertainment, entertainers, movies, actors and actresses, politics, if you will, because we feel a little bit better about that. So we don't talk about these issues, and I think the real issue that we all should be centered around is children. I think that should be the main focus of all of us, to protect these children. So, as I mentioned earlier, I was ignorant. I believed lots of the myths and misconceptions about foster care, the myths that the kids are bad kids. They're not bad kids. These children are victims of abuse, neglect, abandonment. I believe the misconception that foster parents are weird people. Well, that's kind of true. We have to be weird to do what we do. It's a different kind of lifestyle. When you're bringing a child into your home that is suffering from abuse, abandonment, sexual, physical, emotional abuse, who has issues of trust, issues of attachment, that can be hard.
It can be more than hard. I mean, because
Right.
this is one thing that sticks out of my mind every day that I was in care all those years. Every kid, every house I moved to, there was at least one kid whose story made me just go, what? Seriously. And I'll tell you this, the 3 boys that were in, you guys know this story because I tell it from the stage all the time. I even have a necklace I had commissioned so that I don't forget that I'm speaking for these 3 boys. That when my very first home that I was in, there were 3 there that kind of indoctrinated me that first day, warned me of the monster that lived in the house with us, pointed to that mattress was covering up a huge hole in the wall where that monster would come through later that night. And I'll tell you something, I owed them such a debt of gratitude because they told me things no adult around me even hinted existed. And just 24 hours before I was in the family, I'd always known all my life with no idea that I was going to be gone 24 hours later.
Right.
So when
Right.
I went to look for these 3 boys after I got emancipated, or when I turned 18, when I came back from Up with People, that's the first thing I did. I found my social worker, Ann Hasselbaum, and she checked it out. Took her 6 months. Not one of those boys was still alive when she came back with her report. None of them made it out. The oldest one made it to 16, and that was it, died in care. So I want to say this. I believe it's changed something, add something. When I think of it, and I think of those boys, I look at trafficking and the abuses that are still being perpetrated on innocent kids who left that to get to something safe. It equates to human sacrifice. What do you think about that?
I do. I do. I hear what you're saying, and again, that is not something society wants to address or talk about. They just don't
But
want to. And I bring the same thing up, and I'm
right.
often looked at, with a quizzical eye, or we don't want to talk about that. I was talking to my wife last night about a friend of ours who had been raped horrifically over and over and over again by a family member, and the mother knew and didn't want to address it.
Oh, yeah, that happens a lot.
Yeah, it does. It does. Again, it's something that's so uncomfortable that we don't want to address. Therefore, it continues to happen and continues to happen. And it doesn't happen necessarily to just the poor, underprivileged as well.
Yeah.
Child abuse knows no color, knows no um, financial. It happens to, again, it happens in every community.
Yes, it does. Right under the noses of many people.
Yes.
We're going to take a short break, John, or JD, when we come back, you guys, I want to get into the brighter side of foster care. How does one become a foster parent? How difficult is it? Are you opening up your world to scrutiny by a government agency? A lot of the fear is that people say that that's what's keeping them from giving a deserving child a loving home. We're going to talk about that maybe and hopefully dispel a couple of the myths in the process. Don't go away. This is a great time to share out this broadcast. You'll be blessed in the manner in which you bless others. We'll be right back.
Hi, I'm Misty Riston at Campground TBD Publishing. I'm an author, compiler, and publisher. I met Dr. Lauren through one of my authors, Amy Joy. She participated in my anthology, Here Comes the Sun, and then she put out her own solo project, and then is now working with Dr. Lauren on a television show. I met him. I wasn't intending to work with him as a coaching partner. However, I was in a say yes mode, and so I did. I found out really quickly after our first conversation what I had said yes to. Dr. Lauren gives me permission to be me. I have very lofty dreams, and sometimes my really loving circle has a hard time supporting me to keep getting on a higher and higher diving board. But I know where my gifts are. I know where my talents are. Dr. Lauren will help you fine-tune where you're going and then give you permission to be the best version of you. Thanks, Dr. Lauren. I appreciate you.
We're back. I didn't even want to do a bump or anything. I want to get back in here just as quickly as possible. If you just joined us, we're here today, the final show for the week as we are embarking on Thanksgiving. Happy Thanksgiving to you if you just showed up. Same to you, Dr. John, and your family. Before we went to that brief break, I kind of led into that. I wanted to come back and bring some light and some encouragement, hopefully spark some ember of inspiration to perhaps someone out there who feels that they have an abundance of love and empathy, enough to give a worthy child a home, even if just temporarily. How do people, how do you feel is the best way for people to get started, to get actual information that is realistic and not like a recruiter of the military where they'll tell you anything just to get you to sign, but the real nitty-gritty truths about, because not all of it is rainbows and sunshine. You get kids with all kinds of trauma, learning disabilities, physical things sometimes, and there are a lot of hard to place kids, which I was deemed because I had ADHD, but it gets worse for some. But what does a person need, in your opinion, to be a great foster parent?
Wow, so many great questions there. You don't have to be rich. You don't have to be married. You don't have to have a lot of money. You don't have to have a big house. You don't have to have all those things. I know many wonderful single foster parents. I know many elderly foster parents. I know many foster parents who are, have a small home. You just have to really have the desire, the heart to help kids. Now, not everybody can be a foster parent. I'm here to tell you that. It's the hardest thing I've done, most rewarding thing I've done.
Yeah.
But everybody can help in some way. But before we get into that, so how do you become a foster parent? Well, at the Foster Care Institute, we've got lots of articles on how to be a foster parent. They're realistic. I don't try to sugarcoat it. I tell you, this is exactly what it is. The book Fostering Love, One Foster Parent's Journey, my memoir, I wanted to show people this is a lifestyle, if you will, of a foster parent. So if you're considering becoming a foster parent, the first thing you really need to do is, if you're married or you have a spouse or partner, you need to talk to that spouse or partner and talk to them about it and see if you're both on board. Because if one is and one is not, then you simply can't do it. You simply can't do it. It takes both. It takes a commitment, because it's a full-time commitment. It truly is a full-time commitment. When you have children in crisis come into your home to live with you 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, it is a lifestyle change, and
Yeah.
it's a full-time commitment. So if you're both on board and you have children and your children are on board with as well, then you contact your local child welfare agency, whether it's private or state-based,
Okay.
and ask about training. Ask about going to the training services. We offer training services here as well at the Foster Care Institute for those people who are considering becoming foster parents. But as I mentioned earlier, not everybody can be a foster parent, but everybody can help in some way, whether it is providing school supplies or providing backpacks filled with hygiene items, being a mentor or a tutor during the holiday season, Christmas time, maybe adopting a local foster family in your area and helping with gifts and presents. I've had so many kids come through my home who had never celebrated a birthday or who had never celebrated a Christmas before.
Right.
So you can help in that way. Those are just a few of the ways you can help.
What about this one? A lot of foster kids who have aged out or trying to make their way in college and stuff. I wish there was a national nonprofit that concentrated or focused primarily on matching this. I remember I think this all the time because of Up With People. And I'm referring to host families to take in college students when the dorms close. And I mean, there was a girl at Princeton last year that came through my front yard. Someone brought her situation. We went away. She was dropping out of college as a sophomore because she was sick and tired of feeling like a homeless person on spring break, on Christmas break, when they would shut down the dorms. She had no place to go.
Right.
What about aftercare?
Well, think about what you just said there. What happened in 2020 when the college dorms closed, when schools closed, when my kids came home from college?
COVID, right.
Yeah, and that happened. And again, society did not even consider that. Society also did not consider the fact that, okay, we're closing our schools, we're sending everybody home, but for those 5 million children who experience domestic violence in their home, they're now locked at home with their abuser, and there's no one, not a caseworker or social worker, to check in on them. There's no teacher to see what's going on. But again, for those kids in foster care, those alumni who are in college, a lot of them are homeless. A lot of them are homeless.
I know. That's a thing right there. Check around in your community. If you have a university or even a two-year college, some two-year colleges have dormitories. Just find out. There must be a way. I'm like this. If you really care about something, you'll find a way. That's why we are instructed by what is greater than to seek. And the guarantee is that we will find. So, you guys, I believe it boils down to more of us when we say something. Don't just chime in to be a part of an agreeable collective. Mean it. Because that is the only time something you say becomes meaningful in someone's universe. Not just your own, but someone's, is when you literally mean it through and through. So that, I think, is how we individually can start. Because change should start within first, is what I feel. So what are your hopes, JD? I almost said DJ, which you were a DJ for a while. I remember that from your bio that we posted. So what are your hopes? What would you, before you leave this journey, what would you, when you look over at foster care and all that you've contributed and seen, even those things you've tried to squeeze out of your mind because you wished you had never seen them, but nonetheless, they exist. What would you like to see looking back at you as far as change and hope for future change?
It's a great question. I never had that before. I think I would like to see that more people are aware of it and more people are advocating for it because of the awareness. I'd like to see that the stigma about the kids is erased. These are not bad kids. These are just children who have experienced horrific abuse or neglect or abandonment. Children who are looking for normalcy, children who are looking for love. I would like to see some reform in the legislation in regards to reunification. And I'd like to see foster care more normalized. And what I mean by normalized, I'd like to see it more part of our conversation, more part of our day, whether it's in politics or the media, just more conversation, so people again are aware of it. And I'd like to see more people wanting to become foster parents or recognizing that they can help in some way.
Okay, that sounded, I love it. And I certainly hope that we all get to look back and see something at least that is a facsimile of what Dr. John has just described. So, um, I always, and now again, because as an alumni, I always look within and I say, well, what can I do better or what we can do better, meaning alumni. I've gone and spoken at alumni events. We know one in the Purple Project in Ohio. And because my very first decent sized paycheck from a motivational speech was for the state of Ohio, or should have been. And I told you that story, how I had to return the check and I refused to go 72 hours before the speech was to go off because they wanted to place a gag order. Just make sure you don't say anything about the trash bags, this, that, and the other. And to me, it was like omission, changing the truth, offering the world. I don't care if the governor of Michigan was there, a version of the story, of the journey. I can't change my journey. So I walked away from it. But interestingly enough, the very next day, I got a call from Canada asking me to come there and speak on that very subject. So I was like, okay, see. So my point here, my question is this. Because I feel like as an alumni, just like, okay, LGBTQ, I am a member of that community. Even though I don't go to the gay pride parades and stuff, that's just not my thing. But I honor and look and I appreciate the representation, letting people know we are here. I pray for the day when I go to a parade, any parade, and I see Foster alumni marching as a group. There's lots of separate groups online and stuff, but where is that national collective of, I'm trying to find the right word to represent, because we're not victims, but how about, casualties in one way or another. So what do you think about that? Is there anything brewing? Are there hotbeds in the country where you see people are trying to make that difference from the foster care world? Not just people who get paid to say, I love foster kids and I want to see change, but those of us who have been waiting on it because we were inside of it. Is there enough of that?
Yes, sir. I'm seeing more and more alumni coming out to speak out on foster care and to improve the system based upon their own
That's good.
experiences. In fact, one of the things that I do is I coach a lot of alumni on how to do just that. On
Talk about that.
how to bring awareness, how to become stronger advocates as professional speakers, as published authors.
Why do you feel they need to be coached? Let's talk about that for a second. Talk about the healing that is inside, because a lot of us don't really, we think just was because we got out, we got a degree, or we went to, we have something we loved we're doing, and we're not who we were, that we've completely healed. And I don't think that's completely true. What do you think about that?
No, I agree with you. You're not completely healed. But, I have found from my own experience as someone who has had our first child died and had so many heart-wrenching stories as a foster parent, 4 failed adoptions. I have found that when I'm speaking to audiences and sharing part of my story, sharing, being transparent, being open and honest, I'm able to heal from my own pain. We all suffer from some sort of pain. All of us do in some way. So I found that it's very healing for me when I'm able to share it with others and bring awareness to others. So I'm helping these alumni to learn how to do the same thing.
Perfect. You've had 60 kids you fostered or so. over the years. Have you ever had any come back and knock on your door and just say, I just want to tell you what my time in your home, because that's a rite of passage, I believe. And I have a handful of those families still in my life. My final foster family, I call them Pops. I go down there at least once every other month, stay the night. My foster brothers are still my brothers, closer than my adopted or biological, I might add. And so, what about that? And what did it feel like if it did happen?
Well, when they come to be our house, there's no label. We don't have a biological, we don't have an adopted, we don't have a foster. They're our children. They're part
Nice.
of our family. Yes, there are several that I stay in contact with on a regular basis. I This past Friday night we had a big party, if you will, for my daughter who's going to be getting married next summer,
Oh yeah.
and
In
one of our former
Sweden? Where's she getting married?
Greece.
Greece. I knew it was
Yep,
some country.
yep.
Right. Okay.
I had
Congrats.
the opportunity to speak at Greece a couple years ago at an international foster care conference. So she came, one of our former kiddos, if you will, came, brought her children, her husband with them, that very much part of our family. There were several like that. I had a Facebook message maybe about 3 months ago, and it was from somebody who had stayed with us for a brief time, maybe only 4 months. And I didn't really think that we made that much of an impact in her life because she was 13 at the time. She was going through a lot. Those are hard years to begin with. Those
Oh
years are
yeah.
tough, right? Um, and she sent me a Facebook message saying, "Thank you so much. Thank you so much for doing this and doing that for me. And thank you for being there for me. Thank you for sharing with me. Thank you for, all these things." And it was such
Oh
a
yeah.
wonderful reaffirmation for me about what we do
I
as
imagine.
foster parents.
That's awesome.
I often tell foster parents that years from now, the kids may not remember a name. Years from now, they might not remember a face, but years from now, they might remember this, that for a time in their life, somebody loved them.
Yeah, you never forget. And what I love about those families, the ones that I stayed in touch with or reconnected with, or even the ones that I can tell you where they are today, they still fill in that need that I believe we all as travelers on this journey require, so that when we leave this world, we can look back and have a string of fond memories.
Right.
And that's what I thank the foster parents that I had for nearly every day of my life, and I am remiss when I don't, because for many years, just the memory that there is something other than what you're currently living, Lauren, was all I had and clearly all I needed to get to the next day. So never underestimate the potential of what you could be doing, even if you are a person who is willing to say, I have 4 foster kids, but I need to go out of the country and I can't take them. There are people that volunteer just to take kids temporarily or to give a foster family or mother or single person a break. There are all kinds of things you can do. Really, there really is. You can hire a foster kid, do something to give them that extra push, encouragement, and edge that will change their lives, believe it or not. Uh, okay, let me see. Okay, we're doing well on time. We got about 5 minutes left. No, we got more than that. No, 6 minutes. Okay. So, what about this? Have you seen much change? I remember when I was in, from time to time, I would encounter siblings inside of a home I would go to, and their biggest fear when we would be in our rooms alone, because we had a world that was our own community, and then there was them in a lot of cases. No matter what, no matter how nice, it had nothing to do with that. It was just that we were our own culture. But a lot of times, their biggest fear, they would admit to us, was that they were going to be separated um, within the next move or any minute sometimes. How has the reform, if any, helped to take that fear away from siblings that travel or would like to travel through the system together?
There's a strong push to keep families together, keep siblings together. We've had sibling groups of 5 in our house at the same time. We've had sibling groups of 2, 3, 5, yeah. There's a strong push to keep the children together. I think it's so important. So important. Absolutely right.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, it really is. It really is. So they're doing better with that.
They are. They are.
Awesome. They're looking for some good news, some sunshine. Now, if a person, I'm trying to think, there's a couple questions I want to make sure I get in. Um, let me just ask you this. If you could put into 10 words that thing that you could have never seen coming that has blessed your journey so greatly from being a foster parent. You thought you knew going in, but there's no way you could have until you were in. What would that thing be? What would that piece be that you could have never known any other way?
I'll do it in one word. Love. The love
Really?
that the love that has come to me. The love, my love has grown so much. My heart has grown so much. I have been blessed. I have been so blessed by every single child that's come through my home. I have learned to love more, so much more. I'm a better husband, a better parent, a better member of society, I think, for every child that's come through my home. Have there been difficult times? Oh my goodness, yes.
Yeah.
Holy cow. Have there been times where some of the kids have driven my family crazy? Oh yeah. But again, these are kids who are in crisis and they're having, anxieties and anger management, whatever it might be. But again, every child has made me a better person in some way. I am so blessed by this journey of being a foster parent. Um, yeah. What a
Any
what
regrets, John? Any at all?
a There are some heartbreak moments. Yes, yes. As I said earlier, four failed adoptions. They were completely out of my control. At the time, though, I thought, I gotta do something. I gotta do something more. I gotta fight harder. I gotta fight harder. Fight harder. Um, but no, I don't think any regrets. I wished things had turned out differently, to be
Yeah.
sure. Um,
Is it
now,
hard? Is it hard? I get the feeling someone watching or who will be watching is going to ask themselves this question. I want to do it, but I fall in love easily.
yeah, I hear that
How
all.
do you deal with it when someone you love is stripped from you and there's nothing you can do about it?
I hear that all the time. Dr. John, I couldn't do what you do. It would hurt too much to get the kids back. I say that's how it's supposed to be. It's exactly how it's supposed to be. These children need stability, they need structure, but what they need more than anything else is unconditional love. They need us as foster parents to love them with all of our hearts. We might be the first person who's ever loved them unconditionally in a healthy fashion.
Okay,
So
many
that
kids.
when they do leave, for whatever reason it might be, when they do leave, yes, our hearts break. I think of foster parents' hearts like a quilt with all these patches put over it.
Sure.
um, our hearts do break, but at the same time, it's a gift. We're giving the child a gift of our broken heart. We're giving our child a gift of love. So again, years later, they're going to remember that for a time in their life, maybe the only time in their life as a child, somebody loved them with all they had.
This is
So
true.
my tears, my broken hearts, I consider I'm giving this gift to a child. Is it hard? Sure. Yeah. Yeah. But is it rewarding? Oh, beyond measure. Lost you. Are you there? I'm still here.
Okay, I'm back. Thank you, Comcast, for that brief respite. They just like it's like a hook. Just oh, talk about not having control. Uh, Thank you, Lori. See, they've been on this one all week. We've been experiencing this all week here in Chicago. Chicago need Lori Lightfoot pay the cable bill. Yeah, saying. So listen, before we get out of here, we're out of time, unfortunately. I wanted to let everybody know where they can. Let me get that up. I'm all discombobulated now. Where they can continue the dialogue with you. There's so much great content and plentiful resources for anyone with a desire. Don't just think about what you can do. Think about what you maybe through others can do. You might have the conversation that sparks a home for a child with the person you're talking to. So just remember, if you want to continue, here it is. Here's one of them, Dr. John DeGarmo, fostercare.com. And then also, if LinkedIn is your jam, there it is. You can find it at Dr. John DeGarmo. And also scrolling along the bottom is Twitter. Listen, I want to say this as we get out of here. Have the best Thanksgiving ever. But as we give thanks for everything we have, let's play it forward. Let's manifest some thanks in the future by thanking whatever is greater than you for providing a home that we don't even know will happen, but we believe it will for someone. This needs to change, and if it's going to, we need to be the ones who do it. Dr. John, I just want to thank you for today and for the 60 kids plus that you've touched, who are now able to go and tell the world that at least one person loved them unconditionally. I tell you, don't underestimate that. Don't underestimate that. I can tell you from experience, you never forget that. It is indelibly ingrained within your spirit, and thank God for that. So, listen, I want all of you to get out there and have the most wonderful Thanksgiving ever. Start by being thankful that we're here. Do whatever it takes to quench your soul's thirst. You'll be glad one day you did. Thank you. Have a great one. I'll see you all Monday. God bless you. Be safe and be the change you want to be in the world. Remember, a whole lot of nothing is nothing, but a little bit of something is everything. Take care. I love you. Bye bye. Thank you, Dr. John. Thank
Thank
you.
you.